Welcome to Anecdotes for Success with Matt and Paul. Storytelling is an art form, emphasizing the value and learning that is created through personal experience. Our purpose is to share these stories and experiences with the listener. Everyone has a powerful testimony. Let's use them to level up to our best life with truth, meaning, trade-offs, and perspective.
Big shout out to Isaac Mather for the new podcast intro. You can check Isaac's music out on all socials or directly at isaacmathermusic.com. Okay, episode 108. We have Jeremy Drake on. I'm excited for the viewers. He's a local legend. He's a Renaissance man per se. And I just found out him and Matt go way back. I didn't know that because Matt never knows who our guests are. So welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
You too. You too.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I've been seeing you on Facebook, recently, and I didn't know you were coming on, but I got to tell you, I admire your hustle. I mean, you've got from my perspective, a very successful HVAC business, and has that been a family business? Is that fair?
Yeah, 87 years actually.
87. Yep. Okay. Yep. Wow. Yep. So 3 generations or 4?
Actually, my boys are in it now, so we're into technically our 5th because my great grandfather started the financing of the company. He was a co-owner, and my grandfather actually kicked it off. So yeah, we're heading into our 5th now. Yep.
That's unbelievable. Wow. Yep. Congratulations, man.
Crazy.
Kudos to you and your whoever came before you, and certainly your sons, you said.
Yep.
That's awesome. You must be happy. I won't put words in your mouth. Are you happy with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a labor of love, like any small business. It's got its days that are great, and it's got its days that makes you wonder why you even do it. So it's but it's all about the community, and we've always been like that. And when we started this company in 1937, it was a coal company, and so my grandfather actually was kind of not having much ambition, and my great grandfather said either you join the military or you get a job. And back then it was in the 30s, so it was a very tumultuous time across the world, and so he chose to get a job.
So, the alternative is you might end up in Normandy, right?
Exactly, or get on a plane and off you go. So he got a job, and my grandfather funded the first truck, and him and his friend brought coal from Pennsylvania up to the Twin Tiers for a few decades, and that's how they made money. And then from there we built out, and actually our first big project was Pudgy's on the south side. That was in the 70s, and my uncles and my grandfather had run the company at that point, and that's when we got into a lot of the more larger stuff. And over the years, scaled up, scaled down, way New York State is forecast-wise, economically. We've handled everything from Ingersoll Rand's, Dresser Rand's to, mom and pop shops and your house. So it's been a interesting ride, and it's always fun in small business to see what the next hurdle is going to be. There's nothing smooth about small business. It's always, okay, what's going to happen next month? What's going to happen next year? Forecasting is almost impossible because things change day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. So you can't just, say this is what's going to happen for us and this is how it's going to work, because anything can happen, change.
How is that? How is knowing that and dealing with that as a small business owner? And I absolutely can relate.
Yep. Yes,
how has that helped you in your life versus a person who gets up, goes to their job? They know they know what, they're going in, they're doing what they do day in and day out. And hey, the economic climate might change, the business climate might change, but doesn't change what I do.
Right.
But what you're saying sounds difficult and challenging. Well, what's the good side? What's the upside?
The upside for me is I love a challenge. I love being tossed a curveball and trying to hit it out of the park for a nice softball pun, baseball pun. But, but it is, you have to get accustomed to it. It's not something you are ever taught. Learn this in college or in a trade school, or it's an on-the-job stressor that you have to learn how to handle. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people can't. Small business isn't for everybody, and small business isn't easy. But if you can handle that and surround yourself with the right people and surround yourself, with great employees that will willing to fight for you and go out and work with you and adjust with you, then that's everything. It's really about who you surround yourself with in business and in life. And it spills over to life as well. So all the stressors that come into business and all the challenges, that you're going to have those in life, regardless of what you do for a living, whether you have kids, no kids, friends, no friends, whatever the situation may be, it's all going to create stressors. And you have to be able to adjust and learn on the fly to create a smooth, well, somewhat smooth and happy life. Same with the business side. You have to be able to adjust and take on the challenges and iron them out. And some are going to work, some are not. I mean, I have probably as many failures as I do successes, but the failures make the successes that much more. And the failures only happen once. The successes continue on from there multiple times over. So, it is what it is. But I think ultimately, for me and how I'm wired, I love challenges. That's why I'm always trying to push myself to do more, learn more, take on different occupations, teach my kids and everybody else that works for me, the best I can, because, ultimately in my world, it's about rising everybody up together and making them better as well. So when I retire or whatever, they're all set. You know what I'm saying? So it's something I look forward to, honestly. It's weird. It might sound a little weird, but I look forward to those challenges.
No, I asked the question not quite knowing what your answer was going to be, but at the same time being very confident knowing what your answer is. Because I do the same thing. We're similar. Most people who are kind of like us and do what we do, you've got to be wired that way a little bit. You've got to be concerned about other people and bringing people up, and it just seems to be how certain types of people are and what they gravitate towards. And you mentioned that other occupations and such. It looks to me, again, from just an outsider looking in, you've gotten heavily involved in some real estate and selling. I don't know if you're investing in it as well or what that looks like, but was that seems like totally different businesses, right? You're in a very that blue collar, I would assume, hands dirty, hard work world, to setting up tea and crumpets so people can come look at houses, and you're selling to families and those kinds of things. That's a variety, but they seem on the surface very different. Like how'd that happen?
So a funny story about that is my grandfather started the HVAC business, and meanwhile my grandfather was a great guy, and he's passed now, and the problem with my grandfather was he had 6 children. He was raising all 6 of those children on one income. And a lot of times people didn't have money over those years. So he would trade coal for, hand knitted towels or pot holders. And he'd bring home, and my grandmother would say, man, his name was Manny, we can't feed the kids on pot holders. Okay. We have to have incomes. But he was like, but they didn't have the money. And meanwhile, the kids are like, what are we going to eat? So long story short, as he built that company and it, became profitable over time, she also decided that she was going to continue on with herself. And she's a very strong-minded German woman. And so she got into rentals herself. So I kind of been in the rental business my whole life, not my personal business, but I've been around it. Maybe my father taking me places to collect rents or, show me the properties or whatever it was. So it kind of started that seed a little bit. And as I got older, I had kids young. I had my first child when I was 21, my second at 22. So I grew up raising kids pretty much. And I always wanted to get into real estate, into rentals, make nice places for people to live and not have to worry about problems. But I never had the opportunity to because I had my kids. And nothing against my kids. I love them to death. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. As you know, the travel sports world is all consuming. But I had 3 kids and 4 different sports, and, it was every weekend. So when I wanted to get into real estate 20 some years ago, I realized I couldn't really do it, because I didn't want to, for lack of better terms, half-ass it. I wanted to be 100% in, 100% effort. And if somebody were to hire me, they knew it wasn't kind of another job. It was a second full-time job. Now my kids are older. 2 of them working for me. My daughter's about to graduate. They're all done with travel sports, which is like a whole new life of time allowed. So they, it got to the point during COVID, my then girlfriend was like, why don't you go for it? Like, why don't you just do it? What do you have to lose? So I did. Went online and I got the licenses and I took all the tests and state tests and started up, and it's been amazing. I mean, it's been really amazing, and I love it. And I tell people all the time, like, how do you juggle that? And I said, in my world, it's not hard because I'm either in a house to sell a furnace or I'm in a house to sell a house. So either way, I'm in a house, and it's all comes back to the same computer, and it's similar paperwork, whatever it is, and then turn back around and go sell it again. So sales is what I like to do, and in both worlds, I get paid to help people, and I love that. I get paid to help people stay warm or cool, and I get paid to help people find their dream home or an investment property or a commercial bill or whatever it may be that they're looking for. And that's exciting. So.
Yeah, well, interesting. And you just said something there. And Paul, then I'll let you talk, I know, but
Happens
Jeremy
every
and I
week.
seem to be wired so similarly. I love hearing the perspective because it resonates.
I've got notes.
Jeremy, you said something that I find fascinating, the number of people I talk to, whether it be younger people or people who haven't been in the business world, let me put it this way, or have had a bad experience in it. And I hear this thing like, oh, reason people like, business people are greedy. Like, you own a company, so you're obviously greedy, and you sell real estate, so you're obviously greedy. And that's certainly not my experience. And I obviously I'm being a little bit facetious here, but I'm not. This is what I hear.
Right.
And what you said is what I tell people all the time. If I don't help people, I could be the greediest person in the world, but if I don't help people every single day, my customers and my employees, and I'm sure you probably agree with that. If I'm not my job is to take care of people all the time. And if I do that, turns out I succeed. And if I'm greedy, let's say I'll make more money, I'll be successful. That's not why I'm in it. That's never been why I'm in it, why I was in it. But it's nice to get paid to do that. But helping people is at the forefront of what you have to do every single day, whether you feel like it or not that day, if you want to get paid. And I just say to people all the time, show me another job, an area where if you don't help people as much as possible, your income is aligned with helping people. It's not aligned with selfishness. So it was just funny to hear you say that. It's not funny to hear you say that, but I'm glad you said it because I'm constantly preaching that to people. Like, hey, if you're not interested in helping people, don't own your own business because you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes back to the community too. I mean, it's giving back, and we've been doing this, like I said, for 87 years, and I don't know how much money, I don't care, that we've given back, but it's never really a question of, are we going to give back? It's a question of how we're going to allocate it this year. Who's going to get funded? Who are we going to try to help? What projects we're going to kind of build, teams, organizations, whatever the thing may be. And it's not about notoriety. It's not about a pat on the back. It's about, this is what we do. And my dad always said, the community feeds us, so you feed the community back. And that's the Twin Tiers has been amazing to the Drake family for a long, long time. And we like to try our best to do what we can to return that favor. Doing business with us isn't just buying a furnace and being done with it. We have a clientele list, and we almost know everybody's house, no matter who it is, what furnace they have. They're a part of a family. We love that. And we want to treat everybody like that, whether they're a client or not. We want to make them obviously become a client. If not, that's okay too. There's a lot of good companies out there. I get that. But that being said, we have in our reality, we have a duty to the community to also give back and support who supports us. So you're right. And it's one of those things where people think that because you own a business, you're rich, or because you own a business. I mean, I don't know. I know most business owners like myself, in small business, you're usually the last one to get paid. It's not like you're like a CEO of Apple or something, and you're getting a $20 million bonus because you woke up and drank coffee yesterday. It's like, there was times 20 some years ago where things were tough. Corning crashed. We were in Corning. It was very tough, and it was do we have payroll? Are we going to get paid this week? Are the guys going to get paid? If not, you got to go out and get it. And in small business, especially in what the two jobs I do, real estate and HVAC, we're unemployed every day we wake up. We have to go out and find work. We're not handed, nothing's handed to us. Nothing's like, oh, you got all this. We have clientele, but if our clientele systems don't break or our clientele doesn't want to upgrade, it's time to go find more work. You can't just sit back on your laurels and be like, well, we're Drake, we're good to go. That's not how it works. And the same with real estate. People think realtors sometimes are lazy or sometimes they're this. I'll be honest with you, I have a total new respect for realtors since I've been doing this for now 3 years. And I've dealt with realtors for 25 years in HVAC, and I've seen them work and so on and so forth. But there is so much more involved in being a real estate agent, and especially the stressors of being an agent, of making money and getting closings done on time and turning homes over and keeping your clients happy. I go down the list of it all. But that being said, it's a mentally exhausting job. It really is. You're constantly chasing people. But that being said, I give all the respect in the world for all the realtors out there, because it's a lot harder than selling Sunset on TV, or one of those, whatever, those HGTV shows you watch. They show 3 houses and in half an hour they got a deal done and they're moving in, 4 days later. That doesn't happen. That never happens. Okay. Like, this is New York State. It takes us up to 60 days potentially to close on a house, not 4. So, it is what it is. But that all being said, yeah, it's a hustle, and you have to hustle. And that goes for anything in life, whether it's small business or large business or college or trade school or life in general. If you want something, you got to go out and hustle and get it and chase it and hound it and don't lose track of it. No matter how many times you fail or somebody tells you, nope, 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 you just keep on pushing through. And eventually when you get it, man, it's so, as you guys know, it's so much more worth it than having some hand it to you. It's just so much more worth it. So yeah, it's a journey, but yeah, it's something that I do enjoy. It's definitely not the path I thought coming out of high school. I was going to be going to Syracuse University, Newhouse School of Communication, and work for ESPN, and had it all figured out, and that didn't happen. So, which is okay. It's just, I started out in trailer parks after high school, and had a great time with my friends. And it was a very good, big learning curve coming from, horses, middle class horses, New York. And I think it helped shape me a lot in those couple years I was doing that. And then of course we got into the Jackals life, and that was amazing. And you remember that. And so, it was an amazing, let's see, 20s, 30s of my life. Now I'm in my 40s. It was an amazing run between my kids, obviously, number one, and the journeys they've taken me on, and the things they've shown me, and watching them grow is the most rewarding thing I'll ever do in my life. And then all the other crazy stuff got myself into, multiple businesses and the Jackals, and all those good times. And it's just it's a great ride we're on right now, and I can't wait to see what the second half brings.
Well, listen.
Yes.
You two have answered every question I was going to ask so far. That's okay. So as a teacher, I'll do a little Cliff Notes recap. I was going to ask what drives you, how you keep seeming to redefine yourself. And you talked about challenges and comfort zones, and something that really struck me well is you said, who cares if you fail? It only happens once, but successes basically keep compounding and happening. Paraphrase that a little. I usually ask, would you go back and change anything with your journey? And I think you've reiterated and talked about the fact that your journey is what made you who you are today. Like you just got done talking about that. I was going to ask how challenging it is to be a small business owner. And you had a great quote that you're the last one to get paid and you're basically unemployed every day. So yeah. That could be a t-shirt. So I've thought of another question that you made a point that really resonated with me with the kids, and you put some of what you wanted to do aside, raising your kids. And I know you wouldn't trade that for the world. But when they leave and stop playing travel sports, there's a void there. And what Matt and I learned, part of the anecdotes for success and the commonality that most successful people have, when there's a void, you find something to fill it with. And the chaos of the travel sports world, you found with the probably chaotic lifestyle of real estate, because it's not a 9-to-5 job, right? Yep. And it's probably helped keep you who you are, because so many people either think they're just going to retire and sit at a beach and not do anything, or their kids grow up and all of a sudden they don't even know who they are. But successful people that are able to fill the void, you're probably just finding out who you are. Does that make sense?
It's interesting, because I call this like a third phase of my life. And my outlook on life is you should never just settle. Like, the old thing was you when we were in high school, it was, if you weren't a fireman, a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, you're a schlum. Now there's so many more options out there to make a lot of money doing a lot of things. But that being said, it's just one of those things that, like, now, after, like you said, after the learning curve of my non-educated life, getting into the business world, teaching my father teaching me, and everybody else going through their works, and then the travel sports life of 10 years of that nonstop every weekend for 12 months a year. And now that that's gone, like you said, there leaves a giant void, and it's very weird. And I know a lot of other travel parents can struggle with that, because it's like they were looking forward to it some nights because they're exhausted, or some weekends, because, leaving Virginia or Ohio at 8 o'clock at night because your team did good. You still got to get home and get these kids in bed, and those are long drive back. But that being said, yeah, it was a void that I filled with real estate, because I love the drive. And people asked me, they said, "What'd you do it for? Like, is it money? Is it what really got you into real estate?" And honestly, the money's nice, but I don't do it for the money. If anything, I would do it for the freedom the money brings, because it gives me more opportunity to give back to people. It gives me more opportunity to better people's lives around me. I don't need to sit on a, throne of dollar bills, like, whatever. I just like to work, and I like to be able to have the freedom that the money allows when I need it. Other than that, no, I don't chase dollar bills. It's just one of those things that I want to continue to better myself and my kids. And now my daughter potentially is talking about getting real estate because she sees, how much I love it and how fun it can be. And of course, my sons are in the HVAC world. So it's opening up horizons to these kids that I didn't really see back then. I didn't think about being a realtor when I graduated high school because, it wasn't really something people talked about. So it's just one of those things that, like, looking back, I don't want my kids to have a clean slate, walkway right to retirement. I want them to fail. I want them to learn. I want them to struggle. I want them to start from the bottom, and I want them to realize what it's like to do this. Because, like I said, my father and I, after Corn Incorporated crashed many, many, many years ago, pretty much had to start all over again. And we rebuilt this company from ground up. And he got a degree in mechanical contracting down in North Carolina, about 90, I want to say 96, maybe. And my uncles and my cousins left. They were all up here with us. They left to go to North Carolina with his license. So they've been down there doing great guns. And then shortly after that, of course, everything went to heck up here. And so we had to downsize and we started over. But that being said, tie that all together, I know that struggle. And I know the one room, offices. And I know the money. And I know okay, what are we going to do now? Everybody's leaving Corning, and everybody's, they're getting scared, and everybody's freaking out. And we got through it. We rebuilt and started over again and again, and we just got back to where we are now, which we're doing fine. But that's something that the kids have to learn. That can't be handed to them. I can't give them what I have right now. I want them to start from the bottom. So if there's anything I could do over again, I think, honestly, I preach this to everybody, is just education. I keep telling my kids and everybody that works for me, I don't care where you get your education from, but get educated, because the more education you have, the easier life is. I don't care if it's at school. I don't care if it's at trade school. I don't care if it's from your colleague. I don't care if it's from YouTube. Spend time online if you can, because we didn't have that back in the day. We didn't have Google and YouTube and all that fun stuff. You can get a self-made degree in 2 weeks. This is great, But all those little tricks of the trades, all those little notes, all those experienced people in any field that can give you tips and avenues, or connect you with people that can help you, will make your life so much better. Being a know-it-all only sets you back about, I don't know, a week or two every day. So,
You made a great point. The sports world can teach a lot of adversity and coping if done well, and if parents allow it, right? But so can high school jobs, minimum wage jobs. And if they don't, if younger people don't learn that adversity and coping early on, they're going to have to learn it at some point in their life, or they just go through life never learning it, and with a lot of failures and drama.
Yeah. Yeah. And the problem is if it's just a easy route majority of their life and everything's handed and they're set and they're good to go, when they finally get to that hurdle, they're going to be really bad shape. It's going to be a very, very bad day or week or month or year because they won't know how to handle it. It goes back to what Matt and I were talking about earlier. It's like you have to have that ability to adjust on the fly. You have to be able to okay, this is happening right now. How am I going to handle it? If you don't ever have to worry about that, or there's no maturation process mentally for these kids, they're never going to be able to handle it. And it happens, and like you said, sports is a great way for kids to learn, not necessarily just, friendships and camaraderie, but adversity, adversary. But they, and not to mention, they get challenged and they get pushed and their teammates push them, their coaches push them. You're going to get that in life. You might get off your team and be like, oh, that guy was tough on me. Well, it's just starting. Your boss is going to be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
Your coworkers are going to hate you. You're going to, there's going to be something, no matter what you do in life, that you have to be able to adjust. And the better you can adjust to it, the better you can assimilate into it, the better and more successful you're going to be, because you don't have to be a hard ass your whole life to be successful. You can be that middle of the road person and be hard, but also be respected. There's a big difference. So, these kids these days, and, I hope that they all are, the ones that I know that my kids were raised around and, your kids, etc. They're well-rounded people because of their parents, because of their friends, because of people that they were always around. So that being said, it goes back to community. It's all depends on, what you want out of life and where you're going to get it from. And there's a lot of ways to get it: internet, friends, colleagues, parents, other people's parents, etc. So yeah, it's
So I love everything you said, Matt. We all think we did an okay job with parenting. Matt did such a great job that he's doing it again, right, Matt?
yeah.
Yeah. We've got a little girl. I have an older daughter, 24, similar, in age to your children, both of your children. Then I have a little girl who's 11 weeks old. So she'll be 12 weeks old Monday. So yeah, I'm all in it again. But you said so many things there. You don't want your kids to be given that. You want them to fail. You want them to go through adversity. Because they're going to need those tools and skills to succeed in life, right? Nobody wants to see their kid cry. No one wants to see their kid, strike out or miss a big shot or get an F or all those things that we've all seen our kids do, right?
Yeah.
But we know, I say it all the time, I don't want my kids to be happy. I want them to have meaning. I want them to have a purpose. And that comes from these battles that you're talking about, Jeremy. It's like our kids need to go through this. I'm not handing my kids anything. They got to work for it. Because you nailed it. Those days are coming, whether you like it or not, where the Cornings of the world are going through tough times and your business is in trouble or any number of things, or health goes, or whatever. You got to have the mental fortitude to work through it. There's only one way to do it. Basically practice, right? Basically having to go through those things. So I just see so many people out there trying to give their kids everything. And it's counterintuitive, but it's the worst thing you can do for them. So, in having, I had my older daughter when I was 24, and now at 48, I just had my other daughter. Totally different viewpoint of the world. I actually think I know who I am now.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know what I mean? It's still up for grabs.
Yeah.
I have values that I feel very strongly about that I maybe didn't then. But I kind of, I raised a great daughter. Her mother and I raised a great daughter, and I'm very proud of her, and she's doing wonderful. But I'm super excited about raising this next daughter because I kind of feel like I know more. And I failed. Like you said, you want to see your kids fail. So do I. And you say that to the wrong person, they think you're some sort of psycho. But it's like, no.
Yeah.
So you've said a lot of or Paul. I think if I'm ever out sick, Jeremy can replace me because I feel like, just the values align in the viewpoint of the world.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it that comes from just being the thing you said today that I've never heard before that I am never going to forget is as a small business owner, every day you're unemployed in the morning and you got to go out and earn it again. And I was just like, that is how I live. That is what I think thank you for saying that. But, I think you get a lot of similar, like 30 years ago, we may not have been very similar, but then you fight these battles that we fight every single day. Customers and employees and business and finances. And I don't mean you're fighting these people. I mean, there's just things you're dealing with all day, every day. And it doesn't stop because it's 3:30 and the bell rung, or it's 5:00 and you get the punch out, or it's Saturday, or it's Sunday. It never stops. And that builds calluses and thick skin and the ability to deal with problems and handle things and get creative and solve problems in a way you just don't get any other way. You just can't get them. And I think that's a lot of what you've been saying. And I asked, the first question I asked you is, why do you think it's been good for you to have to have these problems all the time as a small business owner? And that's essentially what I was getting at. You have to deal with things that other people don't have to deal with. So when other things come around, you're prepared in a way that they couldn't possibly be prepared. And that's why I want my kids to be in business and do these things, because I want them prepared. I want them ready for the inevitability of the world kicking you in the mouth. And because it's coming. And I want my kids ready for it. I don't want them living in fantasy land where you get to punch out every day at 5 and you don't have to deal with anything, or the weekend, or you have vacations and all these things. I think that has a place, but there's a downside to it. You're not prepared when hell breaks loose, and hell's coming. That's just how I look at it.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And it's to that point too. It's like, with everybody I deal with in my life, it's one of those things where a lot of people have things happen to them, and instead of dissecting it, they worry about why it happened to them and who's to blame for it. Yeah. And so when things happen to my kids or whatever, it's like they come to me with it, and I say, okay, that happened. How are you going to solve it? Well, I haven't thought about that yet. I'm still mad about that. Well, that doesn't help. Being mad doesn't help. Now we have to figure out how to solve it, because it's already happened. It's already done. You're not going to go back in time and fix it. Crying about it isn't going to help. You got to figure out a solution. Now, once it's solved and the solution's made, we can go back and figure out what happened. But right now, we need an answer, because the more you put it off, the more you delay, the more you cry about it, the more you blame everybody but yourself, the longer it's going to make, and the bigger the pile of crap gets. I mean, for lack of a better term, it's going to get bigger and bigger. It doesn't get smaller. So, and it's, one of those things that it's just accountability. You just, okay, yes, things happen. That's okay. It happens to all of us, no matter what age you are, how successful you are. It doesn't matter. Everybody goes through stuff. But you got to be able to just slow down and say, okay, yes, that's not fun. However, how are we going to fix this? So that's kind of my ultimate goal with my kids as they get older in adulthood is, let's see what we're going to do next and how it's going to be solved.
We had a similar thing in the household, and it mostly revolved around sports. When my kids were mad, we'd never go talk to a coach. We'd never go talk to a teacher. Obviously, we haven't talked to an employer since they've been independent and moved out of town. But we'd call it the bitch fest. Any of the 4 of us in the family could bitch about what just happened. And then we didn't have a timer, but it was pretty much a 5-minute bitch fest. You had 5 minutes to say what you wanted to say. Sometimes there's a rebuttal. And then afterwards, we'd sit down, mostly Stacy and I, and be like, okay, what are you going to do about it now? Yeah. How are you going to solve the problem, or how are you going to learn from it, or how are you going to move on? Because it sometimes maybe it's not solvable, right? Maybe it's something you need to move on from. And I saw a lot of that in how you were just explaining yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, like you said, some things can't be solved. Some things are how they are, and there's no going back. And so now we move forward and adjust and move on. But yeah, I mean, everything isn't going to have an immediate solution, and everything doesn't have somebody to blame. because chances are,
Love that.
90% of the time, if you're involved in it, it's 90% your fault or your credit. That's a bad thing. You feel free to take credit too. Some people don't pat themselves on the back enough. We're always so worried about the negativity in the country. We don't celebrate each other enough. And I try to do that as much as I can on social media, other businesses, other people, other realtors, other HVAC companies, whatever it is. It's ultimately, at the end of the day, if you work together, you're all going to be fine. You're all going to make money. You're all going to push each other. But, you have to be able to celebrate yourselves. And for me, that's a big thing. Like, even in real estate, if somebody gets a big deal, if it's not my deal, work for another brokerage, I don't care. We're going to get a drink, or we're going to have dinner. We're going to celebrate. That's a big deal. You should be happy about that. And I don't think enough of this country, enough of this time, enough people in this country do take the time to celebrate each other. It doesn't have to be a huge party. It can be a lunch. It could be a high five. It could be a text message, anything. But we don't spend enough time building each other up in this country. All it seems all we'd ever do is tear each other down. And it's exhausting. It's literally exhausting. And I don't understand where that came from, what time frame it came from, or when it happened, but it really should stop, because there's so many people that could use that extra text, that extra call, that extra congratulations, that extra drink, extra dinner, whatever, extra card or flowers, and it would change their entire day, week, month, whatever. And we don't do that enough. And I think really you could change so many people's lives by doing simple things and making sure they know how appreciated their hard work is and how impressive it is to other people. And again, it doesn't have to be a huge deal. I've got newer agents that I know that are getting in the industry. When they get their first deal, I'll shoot them a text or, invite them out for whatever to celebrate. I don't care if it's a $12,000 deal or $100,000 or $1 million, whatever it is. Who cares? That's a big deal. These are not easy things to pull off. So, at the end of the day, business is business, people are people, and I would love to see a lot more people celebrate each other than tear each other.
Jeremy, and that's not lip service out of you. I've seen you post on Facebook many times, that kind of stuff, celebrating other people. That's just not something you're saying. I've seen you do it in action, and I'm the same. I'm the same way. I own a lot of Subway restaurants, and there'll be a new restaurant that opens, local or chain or whatever, and people always come to me if it's near one of mine. Hey, did you see whatever's coming in, or so and so? And I'm always like, I hope they kill it. I hope they make $1 million.
Yep.
There's enough for everyone here. This is not a zero sum game. This is not the NFL playoffs where there's one winner at the end, right? Or sports or whatever. It is not binary, 0 or 1. This is, I can win, they can win. Competition is wonderful for each other. It's good for employees to have different options, right?
Yep.
And it's good for customers to have different options. It's very true. And I'm not saying this because you're right here in front of me, but I've seen you do that many, many times, more than probably anybody else that comes to mind. And I'm not vocal about it as I probably should be, but I feel the same way. Like, go get it, go do it. If you succeed, I want to see it. There's no better lesson out there than seeing someone work hard and achieve and succeed. Why are we not celebrating that? Isn't that what we want, is people doing that? Instead it's gossip and stab them in the back and, they did better than me, or they whatever. And you use the right word. It's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting.
It really is.
So kudos for you for having that attitude and actually doing something about it.
Yeah, no, it's something I enjoy doing. And like I said, we've had very, very good years. We've had very, very bad years. So I know the highs and lows of both for everybody in the industry, in any industry. So when I see that and I see them come back, or I see them succeed, or I know that feeling. You know what I mean? It's not something that's alien to me, or I'm just doing it to be nice. I know that struggle. I know that feeling. I know how great that sale feels, or I know how great that deal is, or I talk to other people who are trying to get things together and they finally pull it off, and behind the scenes talk, but they see it on social media. And of course it's like, he did it or she did it. And it's like, they pulled it off. Congratulations. Like, that's a big deal. And it's just one of those things that, I don't know. It's just wish that it was just more commonplace. For some reason, everybody's got to be, full of animosity and like, this is better, that's better. They shouldn't have this, or they shouldn't have that. No, we should all have everything. Like, you don't have to be like, tear people down to build yourself up. Come up with everybody, and we can all help each other get there pretty easily if we just work together. and that's the problem. A lot of times people just don't want to work together, and that's fine. Listen, you don't have to. But in my experience of 27 years now in business, multiple businesses now, it's so much easier when you're working with people than against people.
Mm.
And it makes life so much better for everybody. And it's funny how that works, because like the whole, karma, put it out in the universe, etc. I don't know. I'm not really spiritual, but I can tell you right now, the more positive I have been in my life and the more I work with people versus against people, the much better my life has become and a lot easier it's been. And business has been much better all the way around. So, maybe there's something to it after all.
Great. I've got 2 points to follow up on what you guys have been saying, then a question. So first off, I think you feel better about yourself when you help root for other people. Set example. You're a Bills fan. I know you were at the game Sunday or Monday,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Matt and I are Steeler fans.
I'm sorry for your loss.
No, but you know what? I was telling my students, and I mean this. As the game progressed, like the older I get, I'm not mad the Steelers lost. I don't actually have anything to do with the organization. Tomlin's blocked me from everything, but listen, I want them to win, but when they didn't, I'm like, you know what? I want Bills fans to experience a Super Bowl. Western New York needs to experience. I have a daughter that's a Bills fan. Like, it doesn't make me angry the Steelers lost. I could lose a softball game as a coach. It doesn't make me angry if the people you're competing against are good people.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of good people that are Bills fans. Josh Allen seems like a nice guy. Like, so instead of being angry about it, you move on and root for them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
We've had a guest on and he's come to the schools. We've brought him in. Cam F. Awesome. Matt knows what I'm going to say.
Yep.
He always says you either lift people up, you lower people, or you leave people alone. And too often people actually take energy out of their day to lower others, lower how they feel, lower what they're accomplishing. And I don't understand it. It's free to just move on and leave them alone.
Yeah.
It's free to scroll through it. And we prodded him about that last time we were with him. And he says it's because we're taught in society to be humble. And I just want to read the definition of humble is showing a modest or low estimate of your own importance, showing less dignity or importance compared to someone else. So his whole thing, which I buy into now, is what's wrong with being awesome? What's wrong with expressing yourself? What's wrong with posting your gains on Facebook? What's wrong with cheering for others? Like, we're so trained that you have to be humble, but humble's not even really a good word.
Exactly.
If you read the definition. So those are my 2 points. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, though. I mean, and define humble. I mean, one person's humble is another person's bragging. And it's just, it's one of those things where people, of course, social media fuels it because there's so many different people. Like, I don't have a lot of Facebook. I got rid of a lot because of COVID, because of all the politics stuff. But the people that I have, it's so diverse. I have people that are all over the spectrum of all over the demographics. And it's interesting to watch. But also, it's not going to stop me from celebrating everybody, whether, they're buying a fancy car or, they bought something that was important to them, whether it's, I don't know, something small like a vacuum cleaner or something. If that was important to them, they're excited about it. I'm excited about the vacuum cleaner, just as much as I am about the car. Because at the end of the day, that means a lot to them, and that should mean a lot to them, no matter what it is, because they worked hard for that. And that everybody knows what it's like to work hard. It's exhausting. But when you get to finally reward yourself, no matter how big or small it is, and if somebody wants to talk about it on social media, instead of saying they're bragging, they're this or that, they should say that's awesome, because that's something that's going to make their life better, make them feel better, made them reach a milestone that they probably always wanted. And now they can move on to a new milestone. Maybe it's giving back. Maybe it's something else. But you shouldn't, I think goals are meant to be achieved. I don't think they're meant to be, just chased after forever. So when people reach their goals, that's awesome. And then they just set new goals and continue moving forward. There shouldn't be 1 or 2 goals in life. There should be an endless list of goals. And then as you achieve these goals, add another. And that's kind of what gets me up every day, even when I don't sleep, is what am I going to do today to reach my next goal? And I have some goals are very small. Some goals are very large, and I know my path now to get there. And it's going to take, 7 days a week. My poor girlfriend is, kind of new still, a few months in, and she's listening to my phone go off day and night, weekend. She's like, "Is that all the time?" I was like, "That's my life." but it's worth it to me because, it's a quick response, quick text, whatever it is. And at the end of the day, it creates a nice life for me that I can manage. And also goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. And it gives me an opportunity to give back, and to me, that's the biggest thing is when somebody has something going on, if I can, I'm happy to give back, and without working like I do, I couldn't always do that. So, it's one hand washes the other type thing.
Yeah. Did you guys get a copy of my notes before I wrote them today? Because my question that I didn't get to ask was I wanted to address social media.
Mhm.
And you started
Yeah.
talking about it. And what I was going to say, and you answered it. When I see your social media posts, Facebook and Instagram are the two, right?
Yeah.
It just pops up on my feed because I see it
Yeah.
a lot. I either laugh, I either feel better about myself, or I'm cheering for someone. Like that's what your posts are about. Like, what's so harmful about that? Do you ever have instances where people are like, "Why do you post so much?" or "That's annoying," or
All the time.
have you got rid of them?
All the time. Oh, trust me, I drive people nuts, and I completely get that. Don't get me wrong.
But why?
So for me, not to venture off another how much time you guys got, but for me, it was I went through a period to tie this mental health together, or tie this social media together, of a mental health issue. Okay, it was anxiety that I had been misdiagnosed with for years. Everyone would give me pills. I finally found a good doctor who I still have today. He's one of my best friends. Long story short, I had no idea what was going through. It was absolute hell. And so my doctor now said, "We're not going to get you on medication. We're going to get you right." So I've spent the last 9 years or so of my life reading books on mental health. So that all being said, I've made a kind of a campaign of mental health, especially for men, on social media. Now, that being said, when I do all that stuff, I've had a lot of people reach out to friends and say, "Is Jeremy okay? What's wrong with Jeremy? Like, is he okay?" And I get that because it's a stigma, and we don't talk about mental health in America. We starting now slowly, but we are so far behind the rest of the world with mental health. It's sad. So when it comes to social media, when I beat that drum, which I continue to, I do get that feedback, and my friends get that feedback, and they're like, "What's going on with him? Is he mentally okay?" And and that's the whole point of doing it. 70% of suicides in this country are men, and that's the problem that I'm trying to address and help. Now, however, when I do post a lot of those things, and we have a billboard on 352 for mental health as well for a month a year. And so, when I do that stuff, I do have a lot of people though that DM me or reach out and say, "Thank you. I didn't know you dealt with this, da da da." And they tell me their story. And I absolutely love that because it gives them an avenue to somebody that they know else that struggles with it. And I'll never get rid of anxiety. I live with it. I'll have it for the rest of my life. You just have to learn how to manage it and move forward. And I've done that, thankfully. However, it's still there. And dealing with what I've dealt with, and then looking, like I said, learning more through all these books and audiobooks and YouTubes and everything else I've learned. Some of the best psychologists in the world have taught me so much about what other people go through and their struggles. And I never thought about that because we never talked about it. So I have a whole new respect for so many people out there that have to struggle with this day in and day out. And I want it to be known that, they're seen, they're not alone. And they don't have to all, fall to the suicide side of life or the drugs or alcohol side of life to treat this. There is a better way to get your life back. And, if it takes me being a martyr and me being the one people talk about in the community as, losing my mind or something because I want to talk about mental health, so be it. That's fine with me. I'll be the martyr. But if it helps 1, 2, 50 people, so be it. Let the other 50 people think what they want. That's not my issue. I can't control that. So yeah, when it comes to social media with that kind of stuff, yeah, I do post a lot. I try to be better. I think I post like once or twice a day now. I think I'm okay. But No, it occasionally it does. It does. And that's for me, that's kind of the thing that I wanted to after, especially after COVID, when everybody was like out of control, wanted to kill each other on social media. I came out and I'm just, I'm just like tired of this, like, why don't we just like talk about motivational things? Why don't we push each other? Why don't we celebrate each other? Why don't we talk about people's restaurants or whatever needs to be done? You know what I mean? There's other ways to use social media, like you said, to brighten people's day. If you're on it scrolling, we all do it, past time. I'd rather see that than people screaming at each other about, I don't know, politics or something. It's crazy.
It's great stuff. I do the same thing on Twitter, and I get people unfollowing me or mad about it. I'm like, you know what? I don't like people's pictures of food on Facebook. It's just my thing. So you know what I do? I just scroll past it. I'm not mad. I just scroll past it. It's a superpower that most people don't have.
Exactly. So. The magic of a flick of your finger. Isn't that amazing how powerful that is?
Yeah. So listen, we're getting close on time. There's no hard time, but I've got to ask a question to clear something up. You guys, we have people that aren't from the area that listen to this podcast, and you both said you remember each other from the Jackals days. Like, were you out on a safari in Africa? like what were you hunting them? Were you chased by them? Like, explain the Jack. Yeah, it's been bothering me all episode. Explain the Jackals.
well, the Jackals are a hockey team, and at the time it was I think it was UHL. I think I know when the team started, which would have been 2000, and then the year 2000, and then they evolved. They went from there to the ECHL, and then now they're not there anymore in Elmira. But there's been other hockey teams, different leagues, etc. But Jeremy and I started there with the original UHL team back in 2000, and I was there till 2003 at that point. And then I moved on, and I came back years later, after jumping around other things. But that's what we're talking about, a professional minor league hockey team. And as Jeremy alluded to earlier, at the time, I mean, it was like the greatest thing that ever happened to Elmira, New York, and
it really was
super popular, and it was just a really great few years of time. Certainly for me, it sounds like you as well, Jeremy, and just the community. It was really exciting kind of thing, and man, a lot of great memories, and just always, I mean, kind of goes back to what we were talking about: community coming together, people cheering for the same things, people on the same path, right? Like just enjoying something together. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like sport. There's nothing like community to bond over and bring people together. And life is about so much more than making money and what you own or what you have or the logo on your car or how many square feet your house is and all that. What my dad would call bullshit, what I tend to call garbage. And Jeremy, we're similar age, and you too, Paul. The older you get, the more you're like, yeah, that stuff's just crap. It's just not. It's just, and people told me that all those years growing up. They told me, and you never listen. You don't think so, and you know it all, and the things that I look back on now and go, gosh, what was I thinking? And now it's all about relationships and people and education, like you're talking about. Like, I'm constantly educating myself and trying to anyway, and talking about things like mental health. And boy, what is that? I don't have anything like that, or at least not to my knowledge. And what's that about? And man, what are people going through? And how can I be an advocate for people who are having tough times? Or and that's what life's about. I get more pleasure out of this conversation than whatever amount of money ends up in my bank account today because of businesses or whatever. And it sounds like you feel the same way. And Paul, I feel like you feel the same way as well. And not that those other things aren't important and you want to build your portfolio or whatever, but it's not because then we want to I want to go around, go and get a nicer car and a bigger house. It's because I want to do things for people, my kids,
Yep.
my relatives, my friends, my community. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And that might sound like a pile of crap to some people, but I know it doesn't to you guys.
No, you're exactly right. And to your point about the arena and I mean, I was in my role in that facility was the mascot, and
Yeah.
I did that for 11 years, 10 years, and it was a great time. I mean, I got into it by accident, and I absolutely loved it. But that being said, the community from all around. I mean, I was in Corning the other day, and this gentleman turns around, he's like, "Blade, this is 20. What is this? 20, this was 25 years ago. I did this." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "You're Blade, right?" And I was like, "I was." And he goes, "Yeah, man." He had story after story after story from 2003 and 4. And I was like, "Really?" But that's the impact that it had. They were from Corning, and a couple were from like Pennsylvania, and they would come from all over. And nobody cared what town you were from. They didn't care if you're from Corning, Horseheads, Elmira, East Jesus. Nobody cared because they were all there to have fun, get together. The downtown was packed. People had a great time. They all talked about it. It was the shit. And that was what I loved the most about doing that job was the fact that when you were in that building, it was a community. It wasn't downtown Elmira people getting together and everything. It was the entire region coming into this area because you couldn't get tickets back then. It was standing room only.
Oh, no doubt about it.
If you got a ticket to the Jackals game, you were lucky, or you just if you couldn't, you just waited the bar for everybody to come back. But that being said, it was an amazing thing, and that's the community that I remember. That's the community I love, and that's the community I think we can get back to if we get rid of this us versus them mentality in every aspect of life.
Well, listen, this convo didn't disappoint, and that's why we love it so much. Matt and I started off just talking on the phone every week, and we're like, us two knuckleheads should start recording episodes. Then we got guests, and I think today we found a repeat guest in the future, right, Matt?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was great having you on, Jeremy. And we ran into each other months ago or whatever. Had a beer, whatever. And I was, it'd been a while, but I just in that brief time, I'm like, you just know people who are kind of like-minded. You just know. Yeah. And so when you came on today, I was like, man, awesome. It's been wonderful seeing you, and I we'll have you on again, and hopefully I'll run into you and we'll have another beer again here soon as well, because I enjoy what you have to say and appreciate what you do. I truly do. That's true.
No, likewise. I thank you guys both for the opportunity. This has been awesome. I mean, I've known you guys forever, so I knew it would kind of be smooth conversation. But it's keep doing what you guys do. Like, this stuff is huge, and then I'm of course above and beyond that what you guys do on your own in your own worlds, and it's great to follow. I love following this stuff, and like I said, post as much as you want because I love seeing it. It's like my way to keep up outside of work. I work so much. That's my social life. It's like, oh, that's doing this. Paul's doing that. Great.
It's so true. Keep being a blessing to the community. And any big bombshells to drop? What's your next adventure? You must have something in the works. You're not going to stay stagnant. Maybe save it for next episode.
I think next episode, give me a few months and we'll report back. It should be good if I can pull it off. So
that's awesome.
Great.
It'll be continue.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy.
Good night.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Have a good day, guys. We'll see
you.
All
right, bye.
All right. Bye-bye.